Beneath the waves, hidden in the vast darkness of the oceans, lie stories of tragedy, courage, and unsolved mysteries. Imagine thousands of ships, each with their own tale, resting silently in the deep. Some were mighty vessels that once ruled the seas, while others were humble crafts carrying hopeful souls. But what unites them is the haunting silence of their final resting place. These forgotten shipwrecks are not just scattered metal and wood beneath the ocean floor. They are time capsules of history, frozen moments that still echo with unanswered questions. Today, we dive into the eerie and mesmerizing world of shipwrecks that time has not erased, the ones that continue to haunt our oceans and our imaginations. The enduring mystery of the Mary Celeste. Our journey begins with one of the most famous maritime enigmas, the Mary Celeste. Discovered adrift in 1872 in the Atlantic Ocean, the ship was in perfect sailing condition. Its cargo was intact, its sails were properly set, and yet the crew had vanished. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence of piracy, and no explanation for why the captain and his family, along with the entire crew, abandoned a seaworthy vessel. To this day, the fate of the Mary Celeste remains one of the most chilling mysteries in naval history. Theories range from mutiny and sea monsters to methane gas eruptions and supernatural intervention. But with no definitive proof, the Mary Celeste drifts in our collective imagination as the ultimate ghost ship, a vessel without a crew, eternally haunting the waves. The doomed luxury of the RMS Lusitania. If the Mary Celeste left us with haunting questions, the sinking of the RMS Lusitania left us with haunting consequences. On May 7, 1915, this luxurious passenger liner, once celebrated as one of the fastest and most elegant ships afloat, was struck by a German U-boat torpedo off the coast of Ireland. Within just 18 minutes, the Lusitania slipped beneath the waves, taking nearly 1,200 lives with her. The tragedy shocked the world, not only because of the immense loss of life, but because it changed the course of history. The sinking inflamed public opinion against Germany during World War I and helped push the United States closer to joining the conflict. Today, the wreck of the Lusitania lies silently on the seabed, her once grand halls now home to marine life. But for those who study her, the haunting question remains: was it a single torpedo that brought her down so quickly? Or was there another, more explosive secret hidden within her cargo? The tragic voyage of the MV Wilhelm Gustloff. Perhaps the most haunting shipwreck of all is the MV Wilhelm Gustloff, a German military transport ship sunk in January 1945 by a Soviet submarine. Over 9,000 people perished in the icy waters of the Baltic Sea, making it the deadliest maritime disaster in history, yet one that is often forgotten outside of Europe. The Wilhelm Gustloff was crammed with soldiers, nurses, and thousands of civilians fleeing the advancing Soviet army. When the torpedoes struck, chaos erupted. Lifeboats were scarce, the winter waters merciless, and most of those aboard did not survive. The wreck now rests in darkness beneath the Baltic, a mass grave that serves as a chilling reminder of the human cost of war. The SS Andrea Doria, a collision in the fog. On July 25, 1956, two massive ships, the Italian luxury liner SS Andrea Doria and the Swedish ship Stockholm, collided in heavy fog off the coast of Nantucket. The Andrea Doria, hailed as one of the most beautiful ships of her time, was fatally damaged. She began to list dramatically, and though rescue efforts saved many lives, 46 people perished. The wreck of the Andrea Doria remains one of the most haunting dive sites in the world. Nicknamed the Mount Everest of diving, the ship lies twisted and broken, its once glittering chandeliers and elegant lounges buried in sand and silence. Divers describe an eerie sense of stepping back into the past, walking through a frozen moment of tragedy. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald, a legend on the Great Lakes. Not all haunting shipwrecks lie in the vast oceans. The Great Lakes of North America hold their own secrets, none more famous than the sinking of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. On November 10, 1975, the massive freighter was caught in a brutal storm on Lake Superior. Within minutes, the ship broke apart and sank, taking all 29 crew members with her. The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald was later discovered resting in two pieces on the lake bed. What makes her story so haunting is the uncertainty of her end. Some blame faulty hatch covers, others believe rogue waves played a role. To this day, no definitive cause has been established. Immortalized in song and legend, the Edmund Fitzgerald continues to haunt the cold waters of Lake Superior. Her story a chilling reminder that even modern ships are not invincible against nature's fury. The USS Indianapolis, a nightmare at sea, one of the most harrowing tales of shipwrecks, comes from the sinking of the USS Indianapolis in July 1945. The ship had just completed a top-secret mission, delivering parts for the atomic bomb that would later be dropped on Hiroshima. On her return voyage, she was struck by Japanese torpedoes. The sinking itself was horrific, but what followed was even worse. Nearly 900 men were left stranded in the open ocean for 4 days. With no lifeboats and little food or water, many succumbed to exposure, dehydration, or drowning. The survivors faced relentless shark attacks, a nightmare scenario that haunted the men for the rest of their lives. Of the nearly 1,200 crew, only 316 survived. The Indianapolis wreck was discovered decades later, lying deep in the Philippine Sea, a haunting monument to sacrifice, secrecy, and survival against impossible odds. The ghostly tale of the Octavius. Some shipwrecks are remembered not for their scale, but for the eerie legends they leave behind. The Octavius, a ghost ship said to have been discovered drifting off the coast of Greenland in 1775, was found with the entire crew frozen solid. According to legend, the captain was still seated at his desk, pen in hand, as if time had simply stopped. The Octavius was said to have been attempting the fabled Northwest Passage, only to become trapped in ice. Whether the story is truth or myth, it has haunted maritime lore for centuries, a chilling image of human ambition meeting the unforgiving power of nature. The SS Yongala, Australia's Titanic. Off the coast of Queensland, Australia, lies the wreck of the SS Yongala, a passenger ship that sank during a cyclone in 1911. All 122 people aboard perished, and the wreck remained undiscovered for more than 50 years. Today, the Yongala is one of the most famous dive sites in the world, teeming with marine life. Yet for all its beauty, divers often describe an eerie feeling of sadness surrounding the wreck. The Yongala, much like the Titanic, became a symbol of human vulnerability in the face of nature's wrath. These are but the opening chapters in our journey through forgotten shipwrecks that continue to haunt our oceans. From the eerie emptiness of the Mary Celeste to the tragic final plunge of the Wilhelm Gustloff, each story is a reminder that the sea holds memories it will never give back. And as we descend deeper into history, we will uncover even more wrecks whose stories remain buried beneath the waves. Tales of war, ambition, disaster, and mystery. If you thought the stories from Part 1 were haunting, wait until you hear what lies deeper in the dark waters of our oceans. From wartime tragedies shrouded in secrecy to legendary ships that simply vanished without a trace, these wrecks are more than sunken vessels. They are echoes of human history, frozen in the depths, waiting for us to remember them. The Titanic, the unsinkable dream that sank. No list of haunting shipwrecks can ignore the RMS Titanic, perhaps the most famous maritime tragedy of all time. On April 15, 1912, the unsinkable ship struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank within hours. More than 2,500 lives were lost, many of them trapped below deck or left in the freezing waters as lifeboats floated half-empty. What makes the Titanic so haunting is not only the immense loss of life, but also the arrogance of her design. She was hailed as the pinnacle of engineering, a floating palace of luxury. Yet nature proved otherwise. When the wreck was finally discovered in 1985, lying more than 2 miles beneath the ocean surface, the world saw haunting images of her broken hull, personal belongings, and even shoes lying eerily on the seabed. The Titanic is more than a wreck. It is a warning carved into the ocean floor, a reminder that human ambition is powerless against the raw force of the sea. The Empress of Ireland, Canada's forgotten Titanic. Just 2 years after the Titanic disaster, another passenger ship met a similar fate. The RMS Empress of Ireland collided with a Norwegian vessel in the St. Lawrence River in May 1914. The accident happened so suddenly that within just 14 minutes, the ship was completely underwater. More than 1,000 lives were lost, making it one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters. Yet despite the scale of the tragedy, the Empress of Ireland has been largely forgotten outside of Canada. The wreck lies in relatively shallow water and has become a popular but dangerous dive site, often called the Titanic of Canada. For those who explore her remains, the ghostly sight of cabins, corridors, and scattered artifacts makes the tragedy feel fresh, as though the passengers never truly left. The ghostly legend of the Flying Dutchman. Some shipwrecks are not wrecks at all, but legends that refuse to die. The Flying Dutchman is perhaps the most famous ghost ship in maritime folklore. Sailors for centuries have told tales of a cursed vessel doomed to sail the seas forever, never able to make port. While historians debate the origins of the story, sightings of the Flying Dutchman have been reported even into the 20th century. Some describe it glowing in eerie light, appearing suddenly through the mist before vanishing again. Whether real or not, the legend has become deeply ingrained in maritime culture, reminding us that the sea is as much a realm of myth as it is of fact. The tragic end of the Costa Concordia. Jumping forward to the modern age, we find a haunting reminder that shipwrecks are not confined to history books. In January 2012, the Costa Concordia, a massive Italian cruise ship, capsized after striking rocks near the coast of Tuscany. Over 30 people lost their lives, and the disaster shocked the world, especially because it seemed unthinkable in an age of advanced technology and safety protocols. For hours, thousands of passengers and crew scrambled in chaos, some leaping into the freezing sea to escape. The wreck of the Concordia lay partially submerged for years before it was finally salvaged in one of the most complex recovery operations ever attempted. Though no longer at sea, the image of the capsized ship remains etched in memory, a chilling example of how human error can still turn dreams of luxury into tragedy. The HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. Lost in the Arctic, few shipwrecks capture the imagination quite like the fate of the Franklin expedition. In 1845, Sir John Franklin set out with two ships, the HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, to chart the elusive Northwest Passage. The expedition vanished, and for more than a century, their disappearance remained one of the greatest maritime mysteries. Clues slowly emerged: abandoned camps, skeletal remains, and haunting journals that spoke of starvation, madness, and possibly even cannibalism. The wrecks of both ships were only discovered in the 21st century, perfectly preserved in the icy waters of the Arctic. For historians, their discovery was a chilling window into the final desperate days of a crew trapped by ice and swallowed by the merciless North. The haunting of the SS Orang Medan. Among maritime mysteries, few stories are as chilling as the tale of the SS Orang Medan. According to reports, in the late 1940s, a distress call was received from the Dutch freighter. The message was horrifying. All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. Moments later, another message came. I die. When rescuers boarded the ship, they allegedly found the crew frozen in terror, their faces twisted in horror, arms outstretched as if warding off something unseen. Before the ship could be towed to safety, it exploded and sank, taking its secrets to the depths. To this day, the story of the Orang Medan is debated. Some claim it is myth, others swear it is true. But its haunting reputation endures as one of the most unsettling maritime mysteries. The Curse of the Batavia. In 1629, the Dutch East India Company ship Batavia struck a reef off the coast of Australia. What followed was not only a shipwreck, but one of the darkest survival stories in history. More than 300 people made it to nearby islands, but soon supplies ran out. A mutiny broke out, and what followed was a brutal spree of murder and betrayal. By the time rescue arrived, only a fraction of the survivors were left alive, and the tales of violence shocked Europe. The wreck of the Batavia was eventually rediscovered in the 20th century, along with bones and artifacts that confirmed the horrors. It remains a haunting reminder that sometimes the true terror of a shipwreck is not the sea, but what people are capable of when hope runs dry. The ghost ship Carroll A. Deering. In 1921, the Carroll A. Deering, a 5-masted schooner, was found run aground on the shores of North Carolina. The ship was intact, its supplies were still on board, but the entire crew had vanished without a trace. Like the Mary Celeste, the Deering became one of the greatest maritime mysteries of the 20th century. Theories range from piracy and mutiny to storms and supernatural forces. Some even suggest the Bermuda Triangle played a role, as the ship was found not far from its infamous borders. To this day, the fate of the crew is unknown, and the Carroll A. Deering remains another ghost ship etched into history. The haunting beauty of the SS Thistlegorm. During World War II, the British cargo ship SS Thistlegorm was carrying supplies to Allied forces when it was bombed by German aircraft in 1941. The ship sank in the Red Sea, taking her cargo with her. What makes the Thistlegorm unique is the haunting beauty of what lies inside her wreck. Divers exploring her remains have found trucks, motorcycles, locomotives, and even boots, all perfectly preserved beneath the water. Swimming through the Thistlegorm is like walking through an underwater museum, a time capsule of war frozen forever. Yet despite the beauty, there is also sorrow, for the ship remains a grave for the sailors who went down with her. From the frozen horror of the Orang Medan to the desperate last days of the Franklin expedition, the shipwrecks of Part 2 show us that the sea holds secrets that defy explanation. Each wreck is a silent witness to human ambition, tragedy, and mystery, reminding us that for every ship we remember, countless others still rest forgotten in the deep. But our journey is not over. In the final part, we will uncover even more haunting wrecks, from wartime vessels that vanished in fire to ships swallowed by storms without a trace. The ocean's graveyard is vast, and its secrets are endless. The ocean is the ultimate keeper of secrets. For every wreck we have discovered, countless more lie waiting beneath the waves, their stories half told or forever lost. Some are tragic, some mysterious, and some terrifying, but all serve as chilling reminders of the power of the sea. In this final chapter, we uncover even more haunting shipwrecks whose echoes still reach us today. The USS Indianapolis. Tragedy in the Pacific. One of the most harrowing shipwreck stories comes from World War II. In July 1945, the USS Indianapolis had just delivered critical components for the atomic bombs that would later be dropped on Japan. On its return journey, the ship was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine in the Philippine Sea. The ship sank in just 12 minutes, sending nearly 900 sailors into shark-infested waters. With no distress call received, the survivors floated for days under the blistering sun, enduring dehydration, saltwater poisoning, and relentless shark attacks. By the time rescue finally arrived, only 316 men were alive. The wreck of the USS Indianapolis was finally discovered in 2017, more than 18,000 feet below the ocean's surface. It remains one of the darkest and most haunting naval tragedies in history. The mystery of the Mary Celeste. When it comes to ghost ships, none is more famous than the Mary Celeste. In 1872, the ship was found adrift in the Atlantic Ocean. Her cargo was intact, her sails were set, and the crew's belongings were still on board. But the entire crew had vanished. There was no sign of struggle or damage, and food supplies were plentiful. What happened to the crew remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries. Theories range from mutiny and pirates to natural disasters like waterspouts. Some even suggest supernatural explanations. To this day, the Mary Celeste remains a chilling reminder of how the sea can swallow not only ships, but also entire crews without leaving a trace. The Kursk submarine disaster. Not all haunting wrecks are centuries old. In August 2000, the Russian nuclear submarine Kursk suffered a catastrophic explosion during a naval exercise in the Barents Sea. The blast killed most of the crew instantly, but 23 sailors survived, trapped in the wreck. For days, they wrote farewell letters and tried desperately to survive as oxygen dwindled. Rescue attempts came too late, and eventually, all were lost. When the wreck was raised, the haunting notes left behind by the sailors revealed their final moments of fear and courage. The Kursk disaster is a stark reminder that even with modern technology, the ocean remains one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. The HMS Royal George, a forgotten giant. In 1782, the HMS Royal George, one of the largest ships of the Royal Navy, capsized while undergoing maintenance near Portsmouth, England. More than 800 lives were lost, including women and children visiting the ship. The disaster was so immense that it sent shockwaves across the nation. The wreck lay in shallow waters for years, a grim reminder visible to passing sailors. Even today, the Royal George is remembered as one of Britain's greatest maritime tragedies, though it is often overshadowed by more famous disasters. The haunting of the Andrea Doria. In 1956, the Italian luxury liner Andrea Doria collided with another ship off the coast of Nantucket. Despite being equipped with modern radar, a series of navigational errors led to the disaster. The Andrea Doria listed heavily to one side, making many of her lifeboats unusable. Though more than 1,600 people were rescued, 46 lives were lost. The wreck lies under 250 feet of water and has become a challenging and dangerous dive site, often called the Mount Everest of diving. Divers who explore her describe eerie hallways, collapsed cabins, and personal belongings frozen in time. The Andrea Doria stands as a haunting reminder that even modern marvels are no match for the unpredictability of the sea. The Lusitania, a catalyst for war. In 1915, during World War I, the British ocean liner RMS Lusitania was struck by a German U-boat torpedo off the coast of Ireland. The ship sank in just 18 minutes, killing nearly 1,200 people, including many women and children. The sinking caused international outrage and shifted public opinion, helping to draw the United States into the war. Yet controversy remains about whether the ship was secretly carrying munitions, making it a legitimate target. The wreck of the Lusitania still lies beneath the sea, a haunting monument to the thin line between civilian innocence and military conflict. The ghostly legacy of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. On November 10, 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, a massive freighter, sank during a violent storm on Lake Superior. All 29 crew members were lost, and the wreck was discovered in two pieces on the lakebed. The sinking shocked the shipping industry because the Fitzgerald was considered one of the most advanced and powerful freighters of her time. To this day, the exact cause of her sinking is debated. The haunting ballad, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, immortalized the tragedy. But for the families of the crew, the wreck remains a painful reminder of how even freshwater seas can claim ships without mercy. The explosion of the Halifax shipwrecks. Not all shipwrecks sink quietly. In 1917 in Halifax, Canada, two ships collided. One of them, the SS Mont Blanc, was carrying a massive load of explosives. The collision triggered the largest man-made explosion before the atomic bomb, leveling much of the city and killing over 1,600 people. Though technically not an oceanic wreck in the traditional sense, the Mont Blanc's destruction and the devastation it caused have left a haunting legacy. Pieces of the ship were hurled miles away, embedding themselves in buildings and landscapes. The wreckage of the Mont Blanc reminds us that sometimes the most terrifying shipwrecks do not vanish silently into the sea. They erupt with fire and destruction that scar entire cities. The ghosts of Scapa Flow. In the aftermath of World War I, the German high seas fleet was interned at Scapa Flow in Scotland. To prevent the ships from falling into enemy hands, German crews scuttled more than 50 vessels in 1919. The wrecks now rest on the seabed, forming one of the largest ship graveyards in the world. Divers exploring Scapa Flow describe the eerie sight of massive warships lying silently in the depths, their guns still pointed outward as though waiting for a battle that will never come. Though these wrecks were deliberately sunk, they remain haunting reminders of a world at war, their rusting hulks like steel ghosts locked forever beneath the waves. The ocean's endless graveyard. From ancient legends like the Mary Celeste to modern tragedies like the Kursk, shipwrecks remind us of the fine line between triumph and disaster at sea. Each wreck is not only a loss of steel and wood, but also of human lives, dreams, and stories that the ocean now keeps in silence. They haunt us because they force us to confront truths we often try to ignore, that the sea is vast, unpredictable, and utterly indifferent to human ambition. For every shipwreck we recover, countless others remain hidden in the abyss waiting to be discovered, or perhaps waiting to be left alone. These are the forgotten shipwrecks that still haunt our oceans. Some lie in shallow waters where divers can explore their remains, while others rest in the crushing darkness of the deep, beyond human reach. Some are remembered as legends, others as tragedies, but all serve as monuments to humanity's fragile relationship with the sea. The ocean does not forget. It keeps every story, every mistake, and every dream that dares to sail across it. And as long as ships continue to cross the waters, the ocean's graveyard will continue to grow.